Welcome to Evermore Love. Hello, lovely hearts. Welcome to Evermore Love, your cozy corner for timeless romance tales that wrap around your soul like a warm embrace. Whether you're here to melt into heartfelt stories or polish your English with our immersive narratives, you've found your spot. We pour passion into every word, crafting journeys that linger long after the last line. Big news from our little family. We've crossed the 1K subscriber threshold. Thank you. Your love and support have turned this dream into reality, and we're beyond grateful. To celebrate and keep the magic flowing, if you're loving these stories, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, ring the bell for notifications, and commit to watching till the end. Every full view fuels more enchanting tales just like this one. Your time means everything to us. Now, let's lose ourselves in tonight's whisper of wonder. I married a secret billionaire. In the soft haze of a Portland autumn, where maple leaves painted the sidewalks in fiery strokes and the air hummed with the scent of damp earth and fresh espresso, Lila Everett first glimpsed the man who would upend her world. She was 28, a barista at the Hidden Bean, a tucked-away cafe that felt more like a secret garden than a coffee shop. Ivy climbing the brick walls, mismatched armchairs cradling weary souls, and a playlist of indie folk that wrapped around you like fog. Lila loved it there. The rhythm of steaming milk and scribbling orders a balm against the sharp edges of her life. Her parents had passed in a car crash 5 years prior, leaving her with a creaky Victorian cottage on the city's edge and a mountain of medical debt from her mom's final days. Dreams of art school had crumbled under the weight of survival, but in the quiet hours after closing, she'd sketch patrons in her worn notebook, fleeting portraits of longing etched in charcoal. He walked in on a Tuesday, just past the lunch rush, when the sun slanted through the windows like golden apologies. Tall with tousled chestnut hair that begged for fingers to tame it, and eyes the color of storm-tossed oceans, gray-blue pulling you under. He wore faded jeans, a threadbare flannel shirt rolled to his elbows, and scuffed boots that spoke of hikes in the Columbia Gorge rather than boardrooms. No wedding ring, no flashy watch. Just a quiet confidence that made the room tilt. "Black coffee, please," he said, his voice low and gravelly like tires on wet gravel. As she handed him the mug, their fingers brushed, electric, accidental, and she felt a spark she'd only read about in dog-eared novels. "I'm Theo," he said, lingering at the counter, his smile crooked and disarming. "You make the best brew in this city. What's your secret?" Lila laughed, a sound rusty from disuse, tucking a stray auburn curl behind her ear. "Burnt beans and spite. I'm Lila." They talked then, easy as breathing, about the relentless rain that turned Portland into a perpetual watercolor, the hidden murals in the Pearl District she'd discovered on late-night wanders, his vague mentions of contract work that kept him traveling. He came back the next day and the next, always with a book tucked under his arm, a worn copy of The Alchemist one time, Wuthering Heights the next. By week's end, he'd asked her to dinner, a picnic in Forest Park, blankets spread under ancient firs, cheese and crusty bread unpacked from a battered backpack. No candles, no reservations, just fireflies winking in the dusk and his hand finding hers as they watched the city lights flicker to life below. Falling for Theo was like stepping into a dream you didn't know you needed. He was attentive without smothering, his touches feather-light, a palm on the small of her back as they navigated crowded markets, a kiss pressed to her temple during movie nights on her sagging couch. He listened when she spilled her fears over midnight tea, the debt collector's calls that made her stomach knot, the canvases gathering dust in her attic, the hollow ache of holidays alone. "You're a force, Lila," he'd murmur, tracing the freckles across her nose like constellations. "The world hasn't dimmed you yet." In return, he shared fragments. Orphaned young bounced between foster homes, a string of odd jobs from carpentry to coding gigs that paid the bills. No family photos, no tales of grandeur. Just a man piecing himself together, much like her. They married on a whim 6 months later, in a courthouse ceremony under drizzling skies. Lila wore a thrift store lace dress that hugged her curves like a promise, wildflowers woven into her hair. Theo's vow was simple, etched in the tremor of his voice. I choose you, every shadowed corner and sunlit peak. You're my home. She echoed it back, tears blurring the edges, her heart swelling with a fullness she'd forgotten existed. Their honeymoon was a road trip up the coast, clamming beaches in Astoria, bonfires where they'd dance barefoot, salt-kissed and laughing. His arms a fortress against the crashing waves. Back in Portland, life settled into a tender rhythm. Mornings tangled in sheets that smelled of him, evenings where he'd cook pasta from scratch while she sketched him from across the kitchen island. His brow furrowed in concentration, flour dusting his lashes like stars. But whispers of unease began to creep in, subtle as fog off the Willamette. Theo's contracts pulled him away for days, returning with shadows under his eyes and vague excuses about deadlines. Once she found a sleek black card in his wallet, embossed gold, no name, just coordinates for a private airstrip. He brushed it off with a kiss. Just a perk from a client. Nothing to worry about. Then came the gifts, unassuming at first. A vintage easel that matched her dream setup, delivered anonymously to the cafe. A debt consolidation letter in the mail, her balance slashed to zero overnight. Must be a clerical error, he said, but his eyes held a secret, warm and guarded. The unraveling came on their first anniversary, a crisp November eve when the city wrapped itself in scarves of mist. Lila had planned a quiet dinner at home, roast chicken with rosemary from their window box, candles flickering on the scarred oak table. But Theo was late, his texts cryptic, stuck in traffic. Love you. Worry gnawed at her as the food cooled, the clock ticking like a metronome of doubt. When the door finally creaked open at midnight, he wasn't alone. Flanked by two suited men, security, she realized with a jolt. He looked at her like a man facing Judgment Day. Lila, he started, voice cracking, shedding his coat to reveal a tailored shirt beneath the flannel, crisp lines she'd never seen. I need to tell you something. Sit down, please. The truth spilled out in halting waves. Theodore Langston, not the itinerant handyman she'd married, but heir to Langston Enterprises, a tech empire spanning Silicon Valley to Shanghai, billions woven into algorithms and green energy patents. Orphaned at 12, he'd rejected the gilded cage of boardrooms and galas, vanishing into anonymity to build something real. From the ground up, coding apps for underprivileged kids in foster care, funding shelters under pseudonyms. Marrying her wasn't a scheme. It was escape, a vow to the one person who'd seen him without the weight of wealth. I fell for you before I could confess, he whispered, kneeling before her chair, his hands trembling in hers. But I was terrified you'd walk if you knew that it'd taint us. Betrayal bloomed in her chest, sharp as shattered glass. You lied, she choked out, pulling away, the room spinning. Every odd job, every late night, I built my trust on sand. How do I know this isn't another role you're playing? Tears carved hot paths down her cheeks, the anniversary cake mocking them from the counter, untouched. She fled to the bedroom, curling into the duvet that still held his scent, sobs racking her until dawn. He didn't follow, respecting the storm, but slipped notes under the door. I love the woman who sketches storms, not the myth. Forgive me for hiding from my shadows, not from you. The challenges that followed tested the marrow of their bond. Lila quit the cafe, the magic soured, retreating to her attic studio where paint became her confessor. Canvases slashed with crimson fury, then softened to indigo forgiveness. Paparazzi swarmed their doorstep once the leak hit tabloids. Billionaire's secret bride. Friends drifted, whispers of gold digging tainting old confidences. Theo faced his own tempests. Boardroom coups threatening to strip his legacy, forcing him to reclaim the throne he'd fled, suits replacing flannels overnight. Yet in the quiet fractures, romance flickered like embers refusing to die. He courted her anew, not with jewels but gestures carved from their shared history. One stormy afternoon, he led her blindfolded to Forest Park, the same clearing of their picnic. Uncovering her eyes, she found the meadow transformed, lanterns strung like fireflies, a easel stocked with her favorite charcoals, and him, on one knee again, not with a ring, but the black card from his wallet, now hers. No more secrets, he vowed, voice raw. This life is ours to shape. Marry me again. Not the billionaire but the man who burns for you. She hesitated, heart a battlefield, then pulled him up, kissing him with the ferocity of reclaimed trust. Yes, she breathed against his lips, but only if we build it honest. Spring unfurled like a promise kept. Lila's art bloomed, galleries clamoring for her raw depictions of hidden depths, proceeds funding scholarships for foster artists. Theo balanced empires with evenings in, his hands calloused from helping at her exhibits, their cottage now a haven laced with security that felt like armor, not chains. Challenges lingered, media storms, the pull of his world tempting her insecurities, but heartfelt moments anchored them. Lazy Sundays tracing tattoos of inside jokes on each other's skin, a midnight drive to the coast where he confessed his deepest fear, losing her to the lie. Her unveiling a portrait of him as the boy he'd been, fierce and unbroken, hung above their bed. On a golden October morning, 2 years from that courthouse vow, they stood on a Santorini cliffside, whitewashed walls gleaming against azure seas, her gown billowing like sails. Renewed vows echoed over the caldera. In shadows and light, I choose you. As the sun dipped, painting the sky in hues of their love, fiery, deep, eternal, Lila leaned into him, his arm a steady harbor. Wealth was theirs, but the true fortune was this. 2 souls, scarred and shining, weaving a legacy not of billions, but of boundless, unmasked hearts. Oh friends, if Theo and Lila's tale of hidden truths and unbreakable love stirred your spirit, you're in good company. It's got us all a little misty-eyed here too. 4 more stories that blend romance with real growth. And to keep honing that English along the way, subscribe to Evermore Love today. Like if this hit home, comment your favorite secret revealed moment below, and share with a friend who's chasing their own love adventure. Thanks for watching to the end. You're the heartbeat of this channel. Until our next whisper of wonder, love boldly. Sparkling heart.